We're currently inside the GEC teacher account here, and we want to talk about skills, multidimensional skills leveling. Now, what do we mean by skills leveling? Well, it's all about identifying and addressing a student's weakest skills, and this is sort of how it works. So I'll zoom in down here to this section and just discuss this very briefly. First of all, we think about dependency stacks when it comes to student skills. What I mean is that your academic skills, if you're studying in an L2 language, your academic skills are going to depend on your language skills. So B is foundational to A. And if your study skills are weak, then your language skills and your academic skills will be challenged. So this is also a foundational skill. It's a prerequisite skill, or a precursor skill to these skills. And finally, if a student's attitudes and motivations are poor, then their study skills will be poor. So this must be the most foundational skill of all, your attitudes and your motivations. Now within each of these skills there are second dimension skills. Like inside our academic skills, obviously you're going to have math skills, science skills, social science, language arts. These are second tier skills. Likewise, inside your language skills, you're going to have reading, listening, speaking, writing, vocabulary, grammar. These are subsidiary skills, or second dimension skills. And what I'm going to describe to you about leveling the weakest skill, it applies to both first dimension and second dimension skills. And what we mean by leveling is that, just think about it this way, that all of these skills should be at 100%. You know, every one of us should have 100% skill levels in all of these. We don't, I don't, but that's our ideal aspiration. So let's say that this right now is the weakest skill, and this is the strongest. So the weakest skill, we give focus on this one. About 40% of our focus goes onto this weakest skill, and the other 60% of our focus time is spread equally between these three. So 20%, 20%, 20%, which means this is getting 2 times as much attention as the rest of these skills, which will force this skill to improve more rapidly than the others. Now, when this skill reaches 34%, it's displaced as the weakest skill by this study habit. But when study habits reaches 35%, it displaces social skills. So really, these two skills will stay leveled. They will never be unleveled again, you know. And as these two skills rise, they leapfrog each other, and they rise finally to 39%. Then this becomes the weakest skill. And now these three are all leveled until they all reach 47%. And then this becomes the weakest skill, and all 4 skills are leveled. Then what's happening on the first dimension of skills, however, is also happening on the inner dimension. So while this is the weakest skill, we don't know is authority response, or peer interaction, or peer support, or participation. You know, what is the social skill? What's the attitude and motivational dimension that's weakest among these? So we can do the same thing here, right? These should all be at 100%. We're just tracking to find the weakest one first. And so in that way we have a skills leveling, a 2-dimensional skills leveling strategy. Without getting into the technicalities of how we accomplish this, which might be for another video, let's just look at the teacher's account, and we can go into one of these classes. I'm going to choose a class with a lot of data in it. This class is just finishing from May. So let's look at the reports schema inside GEC. So here's our class reports. Now there's a lot of data being drawn from here. We can jump really quickly into one of these, this level 8 social studies. I'm going to go to level 3 social studies, how to be a citizen maybe. And you can see the date that this was taken, right? This is 3 months ago. That this is the September, right? But this is the lesson report. We can also see the course report here. So here's the course report, and then here is a lesson report. And then to see the actual lesson report for one student, then this is the problem report for that lesson. And here we have you can see the behavior of the adaptive path here. If you get them wrong, it goes to a lower level. If you get 2 of them correct, it goes to a higher level. So you can see that behavior. But you can also go ahead and actually see the problem that the student, you can see the problem in their answer. And here's the student's recorded answer. So there's a lot of detail in here, but I think what we want to look at is, here's our academic skills, our language skills, our study skills, and our social skills. And this is our first dimension. So if you recall from here, we had academic, language, study, and motivation. Those were our first dimension skills. Now if you click into academic, you're going to see that we've got problem solving, proficiency on lessons, and lesson completion rate. And when we have different courses applied, you can get a lot of detail out of this really detailed course report. So there's a lot of metadata behind each of these. So we have the inner dimension, and we have the outer dimension and the inner dimension here. Now for language skills, we have the same thing. We're tracking classroom aggregate skills, the language levels of the students as clusters, as how many students in the class belong to which cluster. And then down here we actually have individual student reports for this class, this entire class. And then for study skills, we have first dimension study skills and second dimension study skills. And for social skills, we have the first dimension, here's social skills, and here's the second dimension, note report, chat report, and role report. Now we can address more of these, 2 of these, notes report and chat report, are norm reference. They just, which student has taken the most notes, and then how do the others compare. The same thing with the chat is also norm reference. So Abigail took the most and had the most chat interactions. Here's our chat system up here, and then the others in comparison to her. Alright, so this is the way that GEC approaches data and reporting. And again, the richness of the data that exists in the background is what empowers our AI systems. So we call it context-informed AI microservices.